What is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another 7 Nights video. And today we're going to be talking all about Mercure, which is, in my opinion, one of the most broken, overpowered characters in this game. And the reason why he's so good is mostly going to be because of his skill 2, Forbidden Experiments. This will apply this magic reflux debuff that will basically make it so that if you hit anything with this, it just takes extra damage equal to their max HP, and it will scale with Mercure's attack. Now the way you have to activate this is kind of different. You're going to see the second line here where I'm clicking. It says when you start the battle, you need at least 3 magic heroes. And magic heroes are anything with this blue staff. So you can see Mercure down here has a blue staff, Vanessa has a blue staff down here, Rin also has a blue staff. Something like a Biscuit, because she has the yellow cross, does not count. Something like a Yunhee will count because she also has the blue staff. Healers such as Alice and also something like Alina also do not count as well. So you need to make sure you have 3 of these blue staff characters. And the thing is, these characters in this game are going to be really strong, right? You have stuff like Yunhee, you have stuff like Vanessa, you have stuff like Rin, you have stuff like Jury. You have even the rare characters such as like Yushin and even Velika, so they're all good characters, very, very strong. So it's quite easy to meet this requirement because you're just bringing strong characters regardless. So that makes him very powerful. On top of that, he has an AoE stun, which is very, very good. Basically, you end up applying your debuffs and then you lock them down, and then your team is just going to be hitting them. He also gives everyone that is a magic character a barrier, which is very nice. So you can see his skill kit is extremely powerful. He also caps the damage that he takes from a single hit to only 40%. And he also has this effect resist reduction, which is going to be extremely, extremely good for him. Another great thing about him is you don't need any skill enhances. The extra stun chance doesn't really matter too much. The extra chance to apply magic reflux doesn't matter too much either. And of course, the damage he does, you don't really care because he's more of a support. Now, the skill enhance on his blessing, on his passive, is extremely good. So if you can hit that, it's going to be very nice for his survivability. But for his basic attack, also something you don't really need to worry about too much. Now, the biggest thing is, how do you want to gear him? So there's a lot of ways you can gear Mercure. And I think a lot of people get baited by the fact that this magic reflux scales with attack. So they actually decide to put him on a full attack setup. Now, you actually can run him on a full attack setup. In fact, this is what you want to do for PvP, but it's mostly going to be if you can skill enhance his passive. And I think for most newer players, you're not going to want to dump your crystals, your skill enhanced crystals, into Mercure anyways, because he works very well with nothing invested into him. So what I recommend instead of that attack build, which is more centered for PvP, is if you're a newer player to just run him on a tank setup. Now you're probably thinking, oh, doesn't this make his magic reflux do no damage because it scales with his attack? It doesn't, because you're going to see that the damage it does doesn't directly scale with his attack. It just says that it cannot go past 90% of his attack. So this doesn't really matter for the most part for nightmare pushing and even for the early stages of tower. But in the later stages of Infinity Tower, they're super tanky, so you will get capped. But the thing is, I got to stage 200 with this setup without changing anything, and it worked perfectly fine for me. And honestly, having him tankier, especially if you don't have the passive enhanced, is really good because he is very, very squishy. So the setup I recommend, if you're following my strategy, is basically you run him on either the Spellweaver set from Hydra, or you can run him on a block set from, Ox King, Gatekeeper. And essentially what you want to go for is 2 effect hit rate pieces because you really, really need your skills to land. So you want to make sure you get as much effect hit rate as possible. If he doesn't land his magic reflux, he's pretty useless. And if he doesn't land his stun, it's not as big of a deal because the magic reflux is the biggest thing, but still very, very good for stalling for your team. And then for your armors, block rate is going to be the best bet. And if you stack enough block rate, you're going to see that you're going to be able to get to about like 60-70%, which is good enough. But, if you don't have block rate, damage taken reduction is also good. But block rate will make it so that you are tankier unless you get really unlucky. Now, if you run him on the block rate set, you're going to run him pretty much on the same setup, except you 100% want to get block rate on your armors because that'll just make him a lot more tankier because you're just benefiting from the set. Now, in terms of your ring, so if you have access to a ring, this is going to apply to you. If not, it doesn't really matter. anything that makes him tankier is good. I found that the block rate ring is also very good with whatever, as like the refined stat that makes him also tankier. But you can also run him on a legendary ring. And the reason why I like to run mine on one is because even though you put him on a tanky setup, he is pretty squishy. So having a cheat death is nice, but definitely not required. So I'll show you a quick nightmare run with him. This is actually the latest stage, so I haven't cleared this yet. But essentially with Mercure, you want to make sure you have 3 mages. I have Yanni and Yushin with him, so it's 3. And then you also want to make sure you lead with the CC'er. You want to lead with the CC because you want to lock them down and then apply your forbidden experiments. And you can see right here, my Mercure is already almost dead. And you want to make sure that, you know, he doesn't die because, you know, he's very squishy and he needs to get off his debuffs. After Mercure applies his debuffs, you can then go with your DPS. I'm using Yanni. And when things die, they actually start spreading the dot. So you can see the magic reflux start spreading. You can see he already died, which is very unfortunate. That's how squishy he is and why I recommend him on a tankier build. But he's already done his job. You can see the magic reflux is on everything. And now it is spreading so much, and it makes all of my units with their basic attacks do so much damage. You can see my Lina kills there. You're also going to see the white damage, the 417 there is all from his magic reflux. And you can just see that his damage potential is absolutely crazy. And even if he dies early, it's fine. I got very unlucky here. But you can kind of see where his value comes into play. So that is pretty much how you want to build your Mercure. As you guys saw, he is very squishy even with some block here, but it's mostly because I missed my block. And if you utilize his passive a lot and actually skill enhance it, you can run him on an attack setup. But like I mentioned, I think the most important thing by far is landing your skills. So I really like the effect hit rate build, and if you're going to do this, you might as well just go block rate to make him tankier. But if you find that he's dying way too often, you can definitely take him off Spellweaver. It's not really required. And you can run him on a block setup if you have effect hit rate main stat on the block gear. It's also very good for making him very tanky. And also when you were looking at the clip, you saw that my magic reflux was only hitting for like 500 damage. And you can see that that's not even 90% of Mercure's attack. My Mercure's at 2500, 90% would be something like 2200. And I wasn't hitting for 2200 with it. So you could see even if I stacked him on a lot of attack, sure, my other attacks would hit more, but the magic reflux, which is like the biggest part of him, doesn't really actually, you know, scale up the damage as much as you'd think in a lot of the stages. But yeah, definitely a character you want to go for. He is extremely OP for progressing through Tower and Nightmare Adventure. He's a really good candidate for the 7k chess. If you guys already chose a different character like Biscuit, then you can definitely go for him when the chessboard resets in about half a month, 15 days. And also a really good character to just wishlist because just getting him at T0 is good enough for a lot of content. And you can see now, I'm actually pushing for more dupes for PvP, but for PvE, everything I've cleared to this point was with him at T0, and actually I still have him at T0 because he's T1, so you don't really need a lot of dupes for him to work. But yeah, pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. And also, make sure you guys join my Discord server down below. There's a lot of people that are super helpful. We also have a guild Discord run by my mod, who actually is looking for more stronger members for Castle Rush. So if you guys are looking for a good Castle Rush, Guild Wars guild that is semi-competitive, it is definitely something you want to consider. But regardless, the community there is very friendly and helpful for newer players and veterans alike. But yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.